Hey everyone, Nakoti here. Welcome to the Wolf Pack. Well, I decided that we're going to start today with our lovely little sponsors. So today we're going to start off with Westwood One Sports. Now, hey football fanatics, are you ready for some primetime NFL action? Tune in to Westwood One for all your gridiron glory you crave. From dropping touchdowns to game-changing plays, don't miss a moment of the excitement. Catch every snap, every tackle, every victory on Westwood One. You can listen to the NFL on the NFL app, on the Westwood One Sports app, and on WestwoodOneSports.com via Westwood One station stream, or just by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports. If it is the NFL, it's on WestwoodOneSports.com. And we're going to go ahead and do, where's my tactical gear? Okay. Well, we're just going to do that sponsor today. There you go. Remember, go to Westwood One Sports. Now, let's talk about anything. Then we'll start off today with the weather. It's getting a little chilly out here in Florida. And we're like, oh, no. At night it gets a little cold. That's all right. That's all right. I like it when it gets a little chilly. But the problem is, when it gets chilly in Florida, you have what's called snowbirds. Snowbirds are a problem. Snowbirds are literally the biggest headache in any Floridian's life. They don't pay attention to the rules of the road. They don't pay attention to safety. They just like to fight. Like, I'm literally going down the road. I cross it at a crosswalk, and the stupid idiot tries to run me over and then screams at me to get out of the road while I'm in the crosswalk and then wants to fight me. I'm like, bro, I got the right of way, so let's run it. But when I run up and say, bitch, I got the right of way, let's play, all of a sudden I got people running. I think it's funny. I do. I think it's damn funny. Oh, my cigarette went out. That's okay. That is 100% okay. Now, I'm also going to do another quick little advertisement. Don't forget to check out Henry's Chatterbox on Locals, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, as well as X. I personally set them up and got them running. So let's see how well they do. Also, do check out Henry's Chatterbox, because he also has a book that he wrote, a book series called Scriptive Trivia. The author's name is Henry Berner, and he's a host of Henry's Chatterbox. So go check him out and go see what he's got to offer. I highly recommend it. Now, I want to talk about Yankees. I want to share a story about a Yankee. Now, for those of you who don't know, a Yankee is anyone from above the Mason-Dixon line, Pennsylvania, Ohio, places like that. Now, I used to work for a man from Pennsylvania. He's had to pick me up and drive me to work. Okay? It's kind of standard down here in the South. Not very many employers charge for it. The ones that do are reasonable. $20 a week out of your check. But this man, we're going to call him G-Man. Let's go with that. He decided he wanted to charge $5 per mile with an additional $10 per gallon. Then he wanted to pay only $10 an hour. So he literally tells you the first 4 hours you're working for free. Hold up. That's violation of labor laws. Right? So I do some work for him. We get the work done. I get all of it done. And he decides he's going to pay me $5. Hold up. I detailed your car. I cut your grass, your entire acre and a half of land with a weed whacker. I rebuilt your deck at your other house. Pulled a boat up out of the water and got it cleaned and debarnaclized. Moved another boat off of somebody else's property that's your boat, but the hurricane washed it up onto your neighbor's property. Got that out of the water and fully running with the engine. I redid all the electrical in your in both of your houses actually that got destroyed in the storm. Remodeled all your property, and all you're gonna do is pay me $45 fucking total over all that, and then turn around and send me a message saying you want me to call you when I want to help you for free. You know, the deal was you pay me for my work. So when I called him out on it, 50 million excuses. One was, oh, I had to pick you up and drive you. Only because you wouldn't help me find a bike. Two is, you took a lot of breaks. No, man, you stopped me from working. Every time I started something, he's like, hey, come on, sit down with me. Let's smoke a blunt. Fine, whatever, but I can work and smoke at the same time, bro. Kind of a talent from the South. You multitask. But I couldn't tell this man that. I redid his entire garden and walkway because he wanted a peace garden in the back. They called it his Jesus Walk. I redid all that. But yeah, I'm only worth $45 for all that work. I don't understand it. Can anyone else explain that to me? How am I worth only $40 for all that, $45 for all that work? So I should have told him to go fuck off. He didn't like that. But that's all right. Dharma, which is the negative version of karma, is what actually punishes you. Karma doesn't actually punish you. Karma is good. Well, when everyone talks about bad karma, they're talking about dharma. But dharma is going to come and get him. It's going to come and get him very hard. And when it does, I'll be there laughing. Now, I am going to do another sponsor. And that sponsor is going to be Bearskin Tactical Hoodie and Tactical Wear. Now, Bearskin is spelled Bearskin, but it's pronounced Bearskin. Now, they have very good tactical hoodies that will keep you warm and keep you cool depending on the weather. And if you go to bearskin.com, BAEARSKIN.com, and use the code RUMBLE, at the end of your purchase, you'll get 30% off. So don't forget, go check out bearskin.com, BAEARSKIN.com, and use promo code RUMBLE at the end of your purchase to get 30% off your first order. And remember, Bearskin Tactical Hoodies and Wear is where you go for all your tactical needs. All right, now I got those two out of the way. We're going to go ahead and go on to, well, what do I want to go on to? Oh, we're going to go on to forgiveness. Why should you forgive? Well, as I've said in a previous video, forgiveness is told to us in the Bible to do 7 times 70. You forgive 7 times 70 times. Now, for those of you who can't do the math, that's 490 times you are to forgive somebody. Now, that fucking sucks. I'm supposed to forgive you trespassing against me 490 times? I don't know if I can. But Erica Kirk, I gotta give it to that woman. She did the impossible. She forgave the man that killed her husband. So soon after her husband was killed. Now, I don't know very many people that can do that. Nor do I know very many people that care to do that. I'm trying to find a spot to put my phone real fast because I'm taking a break from walking. But there we go. That's better. I don't know very many people that can do that. Like, I sure as hell couldn't. You killed my spouse. Oh, because you didn't like what they had to say. How am I supposed to forgive you for that? You killed my spouse because you didn't like what they had to say. Now, with that being stated, I like to remember something that Charlie Kirk said. And that is, in the Bible, it says 5 times that you take a life, your life is to be taken in return. And I looked that up to cross-check him. And it does. It says 9 times in the Bible. You take a life, 5 times in the Bible. You take a life, your life is forfeit. Now, just because you forgive somebody does not mean that the punishment does not get served. All right? Even if that person, even if you're forgiven, if you do the crime, you will get the punishment. Now, Tyler Robinson, Kirk's killer, I want to break this down for people because now we're going to get on to the Kirk's assassination. And man, this is going to be hard hitting because I support Kirk. I like Kirk. But here's the thing. He made mistakes too that allowed this to happen. All right? And I'm going to cover those mistakes. And I really hope that Erica sees this. Erica Kirk sees this. Because these mistakes make sense. They're not mistakes you would honestly think would matter at all. but we're going to break it down. So, mistake number one on Charlie's side was that he knew that there was active threats against him. Rather than take extra security detail, which, I guess people will say he did, he didn't take adequate enough security measures. All right. That's blatantly what it is. That's what I'm trying to get to. He didn't take adequate security measures. In a space like that, common sense would tell you have sniper points at any point in time. A rookie sniper who doesn't know how to he doesn't know how to snipe, doesn't know how to find blind spots, doesn't know how to find places to hide and cover themselves from vision. At 200 yards with a 30-30, I believe it was, or a 30-06 and a holographic scope. I'm going to tell you, as a hunter who is trained by Navy SEAL snipers and Marine snipers, I could do that with my iron sights. I could do that with a rifle with no barrel. At 200 yards, a rifle with no scopes on the barrel. At 200 yards, you add a scope to it. Now you're just shooting fish in a barrel. And mind you, the water's frozen, so the fish ain't moving. And you're not using a gun, you're using a stick of dynamite. See what I'm saying? A 2-year-old could hit that at that range. Now, what I would have personally done, and I think others who want to follow in Charlie Kirk's steps should do, is invest in bulletproof glass that can be transported. Mythbusters had it, stuff like that. Invest in that. Have it set up where you have a box with no vulnerability, like the Pope. Now, and other political leaders. Now, also, like other political leaders, have snipers posted every 10 feet, 6 to 10 feet. Or any security personnel, 6 to 10 feet on the rooftops. Have them be able to scan other rooftops and the crowd. If he had people on the roof of that building, Tyler Robinson would have never been able to have successfully gotten that shot off, because somebody would have been able to interfere before he could have gotten there. There was not enough security detail. There's not enough security checkpoints. That's on Kirk and his staff. That is on them. What they thought would not have mattered big time. Now, I'm not going to say that, Kirk deserved it, because he didn't. He didn't deserve that. No, that was a coward that did that. Now, with that being stated, Tyler Robinson committed domestic terrorism. Now, the definition of terrorism, domestic terrorism, is the act of using violence to intimidate or force your political or religious ideology. I'm sorry, that was a tongue twister. So let me repeat that. Domestic terrorism, in fact, all terrorism, is the acts of violence and intimidation to force your political or religious ideology onto others by causing terror. What did he do when he shot Kirk? The text messages state that he shot Kirk because he went against his ideology, his political ideology. Check one. It caused mass terror and panic in the population that was there. That's strike two. He used violence to force his political ideology on others by killing a man that opposed him. There's 3 strikes for terrorism. Now, under the Articles of Treason in the United States of America, the definition of treason is betraying your nation by selling state secrets or aiding the enemy in any type of physical assault. Now, with that being stated, there's also a clause for domestic terrorism that states any American citizen who commits an act of terror against the American populace shall be found guilty of treason for the crime of domestic terrorism. So why hasn't he been brought up on terrorism charges? I'll tell you why. Because the Democrats who paid for him to do this, and I'm sure it's going to be found out that George Soros, a confirmed Nazi, his own testimony in his own autobiography states that he helped his family betray Jews, sell them out to the National German Party, known as the Nazi Party, and then his parents proceeded to aid Hitler as his secretaries while he collected gold from the what how do they put it? How deported Jews. So, with that being stated, he committed domestic terrorism, which is treason. Now, that crime alone warrants death by firing squad. That is literally in the Constitution. You are found guilty of treason, you are to be executed by firing squad. There's no questions asked. It states that's the only punishment for treason. So on the federal books, firing squad is still a valid punishment. We want to bring him before our firing squad. Let's bring Tyler Robinson up on treason charges. I say we start a petition and do that. Make an example out of him publicly. Make his execution public. And have it happen in DC. Now, we're going to go on to the Mormon church where I believe his name was Thomas Jenkins Sanford, went berserk and decided to start shooting up a Mormon church. Now, he was a Marine who served in Afghanistan from, I believe they said, 2005 to 2008. He received several medals. None of them that I can determine are actually combat related. But I'm sure during the time he was there, he saw combat. Now, it said that after he got out of service, he moved to Utah, started dating a Mormon woman. Now, my question is, what happened to cause him to up and disappear one day? He was all ready to convert, all ready to go into the Mormon church to be with this woman. And then one day he just up and leaves. And now he's in Michigan. And all of a sudden he's driving through a church building with his truck, a Mormon church building with his truck, with intentions on killing people. What did the Mormons do to him? I wonder. Because now we have a potential motive. He hated Mormons. But what did they do to him to get him to that point? It must have made him snap. They must have done something that made him build up his hatred for them so much that he snapped. My question is, what did he do? What did they do? We need to get the whole story here. Now, unfortunately, because Mormonism is a cult by my standards, I'm going to say this. We're not going to hear the truth out of them. Even Jenkins Robinson said that Mormonism is a cult 3 days before he did that. Now, not saying what he did was right, not saying he was justified, but I want to hear what they did to him. I want to hear what they did to him in Utah. I want to hear excuses out of them. What did you do to piss a Marine off? What did you do? You know, they're not going to come out and say anything. They're not going to come out and say what they may have done that made him hate them and view them as a cult. No, they're not going to say that. What the Mormons are doing look like, oh, everything's good, everything was perfect, he was excited, we were excited, and then all of a sudden he just disappears and now he hates us and he did what he did. We don't understand. No, you know what you did. You know what happened to cause that. Not saying he was right in doing so, but you know what happened. So just come out and talk about it. Maybe there's a way that things can be done in a more peaceful manner where communication be opened up between people that you have offended or people that feel offended by some of your actions and beliefs. And maybe an open dialogue can be made. And stuff like this can be vented in the future. And as far as him being a Trump Vance supporter, that picture with the sign was from 14 months prior. We don't know how long he lived in that house. We don't know if he lived in the house or if he lived in the RV out front. Because the RV was set up for living, for active living. All right, so we don't know whose sign it was, or even if that was their sign, someone could have gone there and put it up. You have military who are Democrats as well, and share the Democratic ideology. They are brainwashed individuals, tragically, but they still exist. So, with that being stated, we need to know what the heck is going on with Thomas Sandford and why he did what he did. Next, I'm going to talk about fascism. Now, has anyone read the book How Nazi Party obtained power in Germany? Has anyone done research into how they obtained power? Anyone? Well, I'm going to break it down for you. First thing they did was they rounded up all the guns from private citizens. Canada has made it illegal for private citizens to own guns. As of October 26, 2026, you will know it will be illegal for you to own a firearm in Canada. You're joking. That ain't gonna happen. Canada's gonna stand up against that one. And they don't, they're a bunch of pussy-ass pushovers. Because now you're letting a fascist government take over. The Democratic Party are trying that in America right now, too. By putting all these restrictions on guns, thinking that eventually we're just going to say just outlaw them so we don't have to hear you whining about it no more. Sorry, that's not going to happen, Democrats. They're there for Article 8 of the Declaration of Independence that states that if you no longer have a branch or division of government no longer serves the interests of the people, and actually it says branch or branches of government or divisions of branches of government no longer serve the interests of people, it is a citizen's patriotic rights and responsibility to abolish and reform said branches of government. Hence why the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution shall be written. So Germans also took away free speech. The Nazi Party took away free speech. If you did not speak in accordance to their ideology, you were silenced, canceled, deleted, removed. Both parties are doing it right now, but the Republicans are doing it out of revenge for some people are saying about Charlie Kirk. Third, they decided what you can and cannot read and burned books and stuff that went against their ideology. The Democrats do that all the time with telling the kids and everyone else what they can and cannot read. They also simplified education to where people were unable to think and operate for themselves practically. There's 4 things that they did. And guess what? Common Core math is such an example of such action. There's a plan in America called Dumbing Down America. It's been in effect for 200 years for the American government to gain full control over the American people. That's why they have a plan called Operation Shellhead. When they feel that the American people are stupid enough to not resist, or they do resist, that they would be unable to succeed in the resistment, the military will go in and round up all guns and quarter in people's houses. Now that violates the 6th Amendment, bro. No American soldier shall unlawfully quarter in American citizen's house without the permission of the resident and homeowner. But that's what they're trying to get done. That's what Democrats want. And you're calling Republicans fascists. Go read a book, a history book. Go do your own research. To start to do so means that you're just an idiot. What's up, Darwinism? And thanks, man. I'm just gonna put it out there. You're an idiot if you can't do your own research in this. And you may call this bullying. But if you can't do your own research and come to your own facts and findings, like I have people out there saying, oh, Africans never owned slaves. Is Egypt in Africa? Yes. Okay, how about I know a 100-year-old South African chief whose grandchildren now run the tribe, and he still receives money from what's called capture trading. Do you know what capture trading is? I asked him what that is. It's where they go to other villages and wage a mini war, which, by the way, this happens in Papua New Guinea as well, and other countries like this, where there are tribal nations like this. And what they do is they turn tribal nations that run free and the government doesn't monitor them as much. What they do is they go and start mini wars against these weaker villages. And when they win, they take the people. Now, they don't clear out the whole village. They just take the ones that they think are going to be worth money. They take them and they trade them for money, goods, services, food, whatever. And that's African slave trading, enslaving. Now, when the Dutch came over, the African tribes went ahead, and there's records of this because there was documentation of all this, and there still is documentation being done on this being done. That, oh yeah, by the way, the African war chief from South Africa lives in Clearwater, Florida, is now a property owner and owns land in Arapahoe, Florida, and several other areas. So, yeah, he lives off of Princess Street in Clearwater, Florida. Look for the 100-year-old black man named Chief. Now, that being stated, when a Dutch trading vessel crashed and the survivors were washed ashore in Kenya, a Kenyan tribe captured them. Well, these Dutch people turn around and go, hey man, we can make you lots of money. Give you powerful guns. You could become even stronger. You can run this area with full power. No one will ever oppose you. Just get us back to our people through North Africa. And then the slave trading with the Dutch and the other European nations began. Now, this happened all after a 1600, I forget the exact year, I think it's like 1638, court case with a man named John Johnson against, what was it called? An indigent servant who was black. Now, John Johnson was black in Virginia, but this indigenous servant went off and signed another servitude contract with another landowner because his service contract was supposed to be up with John Johnson. Well, this servant did more damage to John Johnson's property than what the contract said he owed. So he took him to court, and it was determined in court in Virginia that the man had done so much damage that his life, his children's lives, and their descendants for the next 40 generations shall be indigent servitude with no pay to the Johnson family. Now, that being stated, that is a court order that states that that family is still enslaved to his family. But the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves in the South, despite the fact most slaves in the South were free because it was cheaper to have payment of them by 5 cents a day rather than paying 10 cents a day for insurance and housing and food. Make them go off and grow their own food, their own stuff, make them sell it through sharecropping, and then turn around and go ahead and be like, all right, here's 5 cents for working on my field for this section of the field that you're working on. All right, there you go. Go pay your own insurance and go pay this. There's documentations of this in the South and also in the Library of Congress and several other Congresses, several other libraries and history museums. Now, that being stated, after the Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil War ended, and you can find documentation of this, General Ulysses S. Grant, he was general at the time, of the United States Union Army, had 1.7 million slaves, with the state of New York had 1.8 billion slaves after the war. How has slavery ended? Also, the largest race riots occurred in 1863 and 1864 in northern cities because Abraham Lincoln decided not to force the African Americans into a draft upon them being freed from slavery because they needed to rebuild their lives. So very few African Americans decided they were going to engage in the warfare, which left Irish people coming off the boats, rich white people, and everyone else, which as much as I hate it, rich white people, yeah, that's literally what it was back then. That was the problem. To be forcefully drafted into war. Well, they took offense to that. The Irish people attacked the black people along with the rich white people attacked the black people, but the rich white people also attacked the Irish, blaming them for the continuation of the war. There's also documentation that states that Abraham Lincoln was ordered by the rest of the world to stop the war because they felt that the North was doing exactly what the United Kingdom did to the colonies. There's actually documentation showing that Southern senators and representatives were forcefully removed or banned from entering into the Congress building prior to the Civil War occurring, and absentee votes were done in Northern favored events, in Northern favored aspects. So if a Southerner was to vote no, the North would make sure they would not be able to get in to vote, and absentee vote would be casted in the form of yes on their behalf. No taxation without representation. No laws being passed without being represented properly. Why do you think forcefully preventing Southern representatives from entering into there to entering into the library, into the Congress, and all that stuff? Why do you think that would be classified as representing the South? Y'all are idiots. If y'all think that the documentation with carbon dating and verification that is accurate and truthful and real is not facts. You know, and I constantly have to say that to people. How can y'all be so stupid and not figure this out? Now, for those of you who are on here and actually listen to what I got to say, thank you. Y'all are the smart ones out of the group. Because you're learning. You're being educated. You're being taught. And for those of you who already know what I'm saying is true, you're just confirming it by what you say in the comments. Let's be real. History isn't black and white. It's gray. History is written by the winners. That's why you know the history of the past has not been revealed. And why so many people are brainwashed into thinking that true history isn't true. And we can't fix the world and all the issues. We can't end racism. We can't end this. We can't end that until we fix the problems that cause it. The president, according to the Constitution, has 100% unprecedented power over immigration and border control. So why is the judicial branch getting into the executive branch's fucking business? Why is the legislative branch trying to get into the executive branch's fucking business? The executive branch has unprecedented power over immigration and border control. So the judicial and legislative branches of the United States government can go fuck off and get out of business of the executive branch, because they don't have power over it. Only the executive branch does. And speaking of the executive branch, stalker, I got a fan. He's called Pasco County Sheriff. Yo, P County Sheriff, if you're a fan of mine, donate some money. Subscribe. Let's run this. Just saying. I'm sure Polk County, Grady Judd would follow this, because I'm behind Grady Judd's backs 100%, bro. Grady Judd's got my support all day. Pasco and Pinellas, they can be abolished and reformed. That's just how I feel about it. But anyway, I've been on here for 40 minutes ranting and raving. I'm glad to see I got somebody who came into the wolf pack and decided to agree with me. Once again, thank you for that one. Darwinism. And remember, humanity is a species of animal, and bullying is our form of survival of the fittest. It is our Darwinism. It helps build character, and it helps make you tougher. If you can't put up with it and you take your own life, evolution removed you from the gene pool. Sorry to tell you that, but we're animals. And we just gotta deal with how animals are. Anyway, that's it for this stream. I'll be streaming again later on a more serious topic with more information. Like, I'm probably gonna be covering the Thomas Sanford and the Tyler Robinson, and go in more detail with that, because I got a book about that big just on Tyler Robinson, and I got one about this big so far on Thomas Sanford. So let's do this. Once again, thank you for joining the Wolf Pack. Peace out.